All right, it looks like we're ready to get started today. Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. I'm Caitlin Smith, your webinar host from Main Street. We're very excited to be hosting this webinar in our series where we bring together leaders in the digital marketing world to bring you great content focused on ways you can grow your business. For today's webinar, we're excited to welcome Michael Cooney, co-founder at WhatConverts. The presentation should be about 25 minutes and we'll leave plenty of time at the end for a live Q&A session. Feel free to type any questions along the way and we'll make sure to get them all answered. As always, today's webinar will be recorded and we'll send out a replay video along with a PDF of the slides to everyone who has signed up. So if you get calls or are pulled away for work, don't worry, you're not going to miss a thing. With that, I'll turn the webinar over to Michael so you can get started.
Hello, everybody. I was going to say good morning, but it's just turned noon here. I'm coming to you from Charlotte, North Carolina, and we've had our first little cold snap. So, but yeah, sunny skies. Okay, so my name is Michael Cooney. I'm one of the co-founders of WhatConverts, which is a lead tracking software for marketing companies. And we're going to be talking about how lead tracking can increase sales from Google Ads. Okay, is everyone ready to get going? I think I'm actually going to turn off my webcam so you can see the awesomeness of the slides without being too small. Okay, I think everyone can see my screen. Let's dive into it. So the agenda, we're going to look at lead tracking software for marketing and just define that. And then we're going to look at a couple of strategies or a few strategies, discover high value, high intent keywords, how to bid on using qualified leads instead of just all your total leads, and then when to spend and how to spend aggressively on keywords with the most value. So I've been on a 20-year journey, and it's been a journey with a lot of pain. Okay, and that pain has been lead tracking and reporting to clients, and even reporting to ourselves as marketers. So my career actually started as a heavy current electrical engineer building gold mines in South Africa. And these are big mines. So my catalog of suppliers just for the electrical equipment was 300 suppliers. And when I saw the internet, I was like, woohoo, this is going to make my job so easy. But what ended up happening is that nobody was on the internet at that time. We're talking in the late 90s. And so I created an online directory and I sold advertising to the suppliers of equipment to connect them with buyers. And this was great, but the problem came around renewal time. I had to prove that they got value and then tracking the leads from that. So if somebody did a phone call back in those days, it was difficult to track. If they clicked on a link to a website, we could track that click, but did they convert? We don't know. It was just a traffic source. So that's where I say it was a pain. And, it was a lot of uncomfortable decisions or discussions with customers to try and convince them to pay us money. Out of that, we became really good at search engine optimization to get our directory into the Google search, and became really good at PPC. So the suppliers who were paying us for the directory said, hey, we see the directory in Google search. Can you get our own website there? And we're like, yeah, sure. So we opened a digital marketing agency and we built websites, we search engine optimized them, and we also, ran the PPC campaigns. And we tried so much reporting, and ultimately, if you've been doing marketing for a long time, you know that your client is never really satisfied with the marketing reporting you do for them. They're always asking questions, and ultimately, I came to realize that your clients want to know, am I getting value for my marketing? So we would report in impressions, in click-throughs, in search engine positions in the rankings. And that still keeps saying, hey, can't give me better reporting. And what we realized, they don't want more reporting. They don't want more complicated reporting. They just want to see more clearly what the value was. But that was difficult to do without proper lead tracking. We thought we got really good at it. What we would do is every time a form was submitted, we'd append the marketing data to that form. And so whether it arrived in an inbox or a CRM, we could have that data. Then we got call tracking. And so we get the marketing data for the calls. So we thought we've arrived. We finally figured out to show all the leads for every campaign. So I went into a customer meeting or client meeting, and I was so happy because what I was going to do is show them the results and then use that as a launch point to like increase the budget. So I went in and I said, hey, Good news, we ran that campaign and we doubled the amount of leads we got. Isn't that great? And the customer says, well, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? He says, well, can you show me the leads? And I'm like, dang it. Yeah, I can show you the leads, but we've got like 1,000 leads, and the 100 from that campaign, I'm gonna have to filter through all these 1,000 to get them and then put it in a spreadsheet. And then I'm gonna have to get the call ones, find the ones for that campaign, listen to them and put them up. So it's gonna be like 3 hours worth of work just to show him this question. And then he's gonna go, oh, okay, yeah, those were pretty good. So that was actually the final straw. That client meeting, I was like, I've had it. I'm finally gonna solve this lead tracking and reporting problem. And that's where we created WhatConverts. That's when I was born. So now, I'll get into how the lead tracking works to allow you to answer those questions from the client. But you can see, that's why I say it was a 20-year journey of pain, and now it's pretty much solved. This coincides with another 20-year journey. So this is Google Ads, the ad revenue over the 20 years. And these figures that you see here are in billions. Now, I know in today's world, people throw around $1 billion, like, or they say $1 billion like it means nothing. $1 billion is a lot of money. $1 billion is 1,000 million. So that's a ton of money. And you can just see Google Ads is just growing like a rocket ship. And the effect of COVID in 2021, where everything went online, they grew by $62 billion in 1 year. Now, why I bring this up is that this is great. This shows that Google Ads works. And with WhatConverts, our software is installed on 70,000 company websites. And Google Ads works. They deliver leads. So does Google Organic. So they really do work. And what happens is when it works and you can see what they're earning, you can imagine it's getting more competitive because it works and more people see it and they do it. And when it gets more competitive, it gets more expensive. So I'm going to go to the next slide and we're going to talk over that and how you can control it and how do you compete when things get so much more competitive and expensive. So in the PPC process, you control your keywords that you target, and then you control the ad that they see. Google's trying to make it more automated now where they choose the ad for you, but for the most part, you create the ad and the versions that the potential customer sees. You create the landing page that they land on. So if you're aligned the keyword to the ad to the landing page, you typically get a good conversion rate if that all worked out. You also control how much you're willing to spend per keyword. So that's the great thing about Google Ads. You can choose what amount you spend per click, and you choose how much you're willing to budget for the entire month. So you have a lot of control. And as you can see, you can't control your competitor's budget. You can't control what they bid, on the same keywords that you're bidding on. And you can't control the Google algorithm, but you can play within their rules. So what happens? Competitors, they make you spend more money. And this chart here on the right, the red line, this is search impression share. And what that means is for the keywords you're targeting, what percentage of time are your ads being displayed? Okay, so this is the chart from the company I'm mentioning before. And back in 2014, we got into this great keyword strategy where we were getting 60 to 70% impression share, which is amazing. And we were only paying like 50 cents a click. I started when clicks were less than 20 cents. I think in the early days, it was like 5 cents, and then it went to minimum 10 cents, and then it was minimum 20 cents. Now, if you start a campaign with anything less than $1 a click, you're lucky. You feel pretty lucky spending $1 a click nowadays. An interesting story with WhatConverts, when we started at $8 a click for the term call tracking, and then our competitors got some funding, and they ramped up the cost per click for call tracking to $120 for 1 click. And we're like, okay, we need to figure out how to be more strategic to be able to compete in that. Luckily, we've got an awesome product, so we're okay. Okay, so what happens here with impression share is as the time goes on, you can see the impression share reduces, but 40% is still great. there comes a point, you see where the red line crosses the green line? About a couple of months before that, I called this the story of the idiot son. Now, the son is not an idiot. So this is the son of, so our marketing agency was working for the dad who owned the company. And the son, he's excited about the results we're getting from his campaigns. And he mentioned it to the competitor. And what had happened is when we were getting these early results from these campaigns, I said to my customer, I said, look, count your blessings, you're getting great results for very low value. But there's going to come a time when your competitor realizes your strategy and they're going to compete with you. And so you're going to spend more for the same amount of leads. And he's like, okay, I understand, Michael. So I reminded him of this. And it took about 3 years before the son had the lunch. And I was surprised it took 3 years for the competitors to get it. And if the son didn't have the lunch, it may have continued. So what was the other thing I said to him? Anyway, once that happened, we were like, okay, you know what? We're making good money. We're still getting good value from the leads. Let's just double our budget. And we doubled it. And now the counterintuitive thing is when we increased our budget, the crazy thing is our impression share dropped like to a quarter of what it was. You can see that in the red line here. We spent double and we got less. And we're like, what are we going to do? So now it's a game of a bidding war. Which competitors got the deepest pockets? Who's willing to throw the most amount of money? And I got to a stage where it's like, you know what? It's worth spending what we're spending, but if we spend more, it's not gonna work for us. So how did we deal with this? We used lead tracking software. So with the lead tracking software, this is the growth of that actual company, the leads, and you can see from 2015 all the way to 2022, there's been nice steady growth. We started with 1,000 leads for the year of 2015. So we were actually working with them from 2013. And the growth to get to 1,000 was huge. We loved that growth. But 2015 is when we started using the lead tracking software. And you can see from there, 2022 is not yet finished, and we should hit 4,000. So that means over this period, the 7 years, we've 4x'd or quadrupled the amount of leads for this company. And the lead tracking software is a big part of that. Okay, and I know that the Google CPC is lower. So if you look at the bottom here, it almost looks like it flatlines. But what has happened is we became more strategic. We got less leads, but there was a much higher value per lead. And I'm going to talk about that as well. But what I want to show you with this chart is by using lead tracking software, you can continue to grow over many, many years by having the data and being strategic. Okay, so when WhatConverts started, and I just want to mention here, if you have any questions, just pop it in the question box and I'll glance over every now and then and see if there's any questions you want answered, or I'll answer them at the end. Okay, so lead tracking software, I was doing all the demos in the early days of WhatConverts, and I'd speak to marketing agencies and I'd say to them, WhatConverts, we offer lead tracking software. And they'd say to me, oh, I track my leads with our CRM. And I'll be like, okay, not really, you can't really, and then I'd have to have this long conversation and they wouldn't get it. And the other problem is I'll say, we do lead tracking. They said, oh yeah, we track our leads with Google Analytics. And I'd be like, I had to hold myself back from slapping somebody because you can't track leads in Google Analytics. And I'll show you that. So what lead tracking software is, it's split in two. There's lead tracking for sales, and that's your CRM. So what's happened in the market is CRM spend a lot of money. And if you look at the budgets for a HubSpot or a Salesforce, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars spent repeating a message to the market. And this message that they've been repeating is like, yeah, you can track your leads, you can do everything, all your marketing attribution, we got you. But they don't got you. They've got the sales side of the equation. So what happens with a CRM, you get a lead, and then they determine, is this lead worthy to become a contact? Once it becomes a contact, if you quote them, you create an opportunity that's over here, and then you create a deal, an opportunity or a deal. And then if you quote them, you give an opportunity value. And then once they do a sale, they become a customer. That's what a CRM is designed to do. You've got a contact database, you've got a great follow-up process, and you've got sales reporting, like what products and what sales were made. What you don't have is when we go to the marketing side, if you look at the journey of a person, they're a stranger, but they do a search and they're looking for your product. And then through that search, they come to your company or to your company's website. They see the information and then they fill in a form, they make a phone call, or they participate in chat, and they become a lead. So that's the journey for marketing. And with that, you get a lot of marketing data. I put down here lead data. That's the who, what, and where. So the who is the person, contact information, so you know who you're talking to. The what is very important to marketing, and it gets missed so many times. The what is, what do they want? From that, why it's important is you can determine a value. So now instead of your lead just being a lead, so an ebook lead is not worth very much. But a lead for somebody wanting a big expensive piece of equipment could be $1 million. So if you know the what from the marketing side, you can determine the value of your each lead. And then once you know the value of each lead, you can determine the value of your marketing. And so when you begin to report in leads and you have some value in there, you begin to, show your client or your customer the value of your marketing very easily. Reporting becomes a dream. Okay. And then the last part is the where. The where is the marketing. That's your campaigns, your keyword, your landing pages. You want all that information, like what marketing resulted in this lead and the value of that lead. And that's why we've got marketing reporting too. So to do the strategy I'm going to show you, you need lead tracking software for marketing. And you need it to do three things. The first thing, capture the data automatically. So when I mean capture the data, if they fill in the form of, if they fill in the form, or if there's a phone call, you want to get the caller ID record. You may not get all the information, but on the phone call, you can enter it into the platform. You know the where, the full customer journey. And if you're in marketing, if you're lucky and you can just put out an ad and get a conversion straight away, that's great. That's pretty easy to track and report on. We have a customer journey feature because sometimes it's not that easy. There's 3 different steps on how they get to you, and it's important to know all those steps. Also, we show you the page views. But also, you can arguably say the most important is the what, so you can get the value. And when you get the value, you can see at the top, you've got the quote value and the sales value, and then is it quotable, yes or no. And we like to say quotable because qualified can mean many different things. It's like, can you put a price on this? Yes, that's why we say, is it a quotable lead? The second thing you want is once you capture this data, if you're getting 1,000 leads a month, you need organized data. And our system brings it in and auto-populates. It looks like a spreadsheet, and it's basically a very advanced spreadsheet purpose-built for marketers with the data automatically added. That's huge. The other huge thing here to note is you have to have all your lead types in one place. So you got your phone calls, your forms, your chats. We have competitors claiming they can do things, but their data is siloed. Forms are in one place, calls are in another place. It's difficult to get the insights when that happens. So you want to organize data all in one place where you can see it very clearly. So here, just from this view, I've got contact name, I've got the source, medium, keyword, landing page, the value, whether it was quotable, what it was. And if I click on it, I can see the full lead detail, listen to the call, etc. It can also be filtered. You can also change which columns you view and say that. That's what these views at the top here are. Anyway, that's the second thing your lead tracking software needs, is organized data. The last thing you need is data insights. As I mentioned, you're going to be dealing with a lot of data and people get overwhelmed with data. So unless you've got tools to reveal that data and the insight automatically, you're not going to use it. So that's why you need a really robust report builder that allows you to ask questions of your data. So that's in there as well. So those are the 3 things you need: auto capture, organized data, and then data insight. So basically reporting. Okay, let's get into those strategies. So now that we've got the lead tracking software, how do we use it to see the benefit? So the first thing is discover high value, high intent keywords. How do you know they're high value or high intent? So I bring up buyer intent because in my journey, you can target a lot of keywords, but if they don't have buyer intent, you're not going to get the conversion. You're not going to get the lead. And a quick test, and super simple, because Google, they get trillions of searches. They have a lot of data. They are experts in knowing what a searcher's intent is. And I know this is super simple, but I think it's so important. So when somebody searches for something, like I search here, what is an alloy rim? You know those fancy alloy wheels that go on nice cars? That's an alloy rim. So what is an alloy rim? And you see Wikipedia here, and you see no dollar signs anywhere. If there's Wikipedia on the page, there's no buyer intent, okay? So Google's telling you that. Let's do the same thing, but now it's just say 20-inch alloy wheels. Same product, almost the same keywords as well. But now we're saying, I want a 20-inch alloy wheel. Now Google's saying, okay, this isn't researched anymore. They're looking for what to buy now. And they're saying, I want a 20-inch alloy wheel. So Google's determined their search intent is to buy a 20-inch alloy wheel. So they're going to show you 20-inch alloy wheels with a price that you can buy very easily. So if you're ever wondering is this a good word to target, go check if it's got buyer intent, and they'll tell you pretty quickly. So another way with discovery with keywords, you can use keyword tools. So once you've got a keyword, you need to know, does it have enough searches? So this is an image from Ahrefs. It's a SEO keyword research tool. You can use SEMrush. There's other tools out there as well. You put in the search term, it tells you the keyword difficulty. So this is easy. So there's not much competition. Volume is really low. There's only 40. So it's like, you're not going to get much out of this. I wouldn't put too much effort into ranking for this. And then the cost per click is really low. So also, and considering a repair service is probably localized and this is a global volume, you're wasting your time going after this term. So that's why once you've discovered keywords, you do want to test them in the Google search, test them in a keyword research tool. But how do you discover new keywords? And this is a strategy that got me onto that strategy where we were getting cheap clicks for very high converting keywords. Listen to the customer words. So what I do with when I put on my agency hats, it's when I was working as an agency. The first thing I do when I got a new client is I'd say, okay, I'd ask the owner and I'd also ask to speak to the sales team. I'll say, tell me what the customers say when they call in. Like this, when they call in, what are the first words? Say, hey, I'm looking for 20-inch wheels. Hey, I've got a BMW and I've got a set of 19-inch wheels. I'm looking to go to 20-inch. Tell me those conversations. With some companies, it worked great, and I got those great insights. And the company I was referring to earlier, that's what happened, and that's where I got that insight for that keyword targeting strategy, and it worked wonders. Now it's even easier with lead tracking software. What I do now with the clients, or if I was an agency, I'd install lead tracking software. I would track 30, 40, even 50 leads. And then I would just go down and read the transcript of all the call recordings. So for each call, we can record the call and transcribe it. And then you can see here, I have a BMW, can scratches on the rims be repaired? So in there, you can start picking keywords. But I like to get about 30, 40, maybe even 50, read through them. And then from there, I create a keyword list and you get gems. I've done it many times and some great gems in that. You can also do it with forms. So we also capture the full form submission. How much does it cost to repair a bent rim? So now it's like, okay, people have bent rims. What keywords can we generate right around that? So you just start building up a keyword list, and then you can also put it in your tools to see like, what's the volume? How competitive are they? But listening to your customers, just getting the customer words, and you're probably looking at me and saying, how can this be strategy? It's so easy. Believe me, I've done this so many times. So many people don't do it. But you really pick up gems that are worth a lot of money. Okay, so sometimes the simplest ideas are the best ideas. Okay, do we have any questions? We got one question. How can we set up quotable quote value properly? Okay, I'll get into that at the end. And I actually answered that a little later on. Now, bidding strategies with qualified leads. So again, if you don't have lead tracking software, it's difficult to do this strategy, because if you're getting leads flying in, how do you know if they're qualified and it's tied to a campaign? So again, if you've got leads that are coming in and go to a CRM, if you, as a marketing person, if you're lucky enough to get access to their CRM, you can see if they're qualified, but then it's difficult to tie it back to marketing. So you can do it one by one if you then send in the marketing data, but it's difficult. So with the lead tracking software for marketing, you're able to bid using qualified leads. Okay, so what happened here, this image is from Google Analytics. Okay, and I love Google Analytics. I do all my goal completions or conversions in Google Analytics. And you can see from here, Google CPCs, Google Ads, with almost a 3% conversion rate, which is in this industry was great. 89 forms filled in. And so this is what I used to go to the client with, like, hey, we've got 89 forms filled in. Isn't that great? And they're like, can we see those leads? And it's like, well, we can, but it's going to take a lot of work. And it's like, how many of those are good? And it's like, well, Google Analytics can't tell you that. And then if you ask, well, how many of those are existing customers? Because I think your marketing is bringing in existing customers. I want to know just how many of those are new customers. And with Google Analytics, you just can't answer that question. So that's why I used to get annoyed when people would tell me, I use Google Analytics to track my leads. Nah, you're using Google Analytics to track conversions. Okay, so that's all it's telling you. A conversion action happened in that. So you can't see qualified leads in that. If you go to a lead manager, you can see here's John Rodriguez, Google CPC. You can see the keyword, the landing page. You can see the value. It's $300. It was quotable. There's a qualified lead. So in this case, it's very easy to say, here's 111 leads. And I wish this was a live thing. I could just click on the quotable and say yes. And then that would just show me all the quotable leads. And I can say, yeah, here we go. Out of this 111, 70 of them are quotable, and the total value, if you move this chart down, it actually sums it up and shows you the actual value summed up. So that's why with lead tracking software, it makes it easy. The better thing that it does is with reporting now, and you take all that information, you can view a report that groups your best keywords by qualified leads. So then you can say, okay, diamond cut, and you're asking me, what the heck is diamond cut? It's back to the alloy wheel example, is you run through a diamond cut process, and it's just a way to make your wheels look great. And if there's any scuffs and trims, it can sort it out. I think I'm not an expert, but and this specific example is fictional, but I've seen this on many client accounts, and it works great. It works very much like this. So I'm not saying go and bid on diamond cut wheel repair. But in this case, you'll know, okay, 575 quotable leads for diamond cut. You can, increase your spend, or, they are bringing me qualified leads, so it's worthwhile spending on that term. You can look at the ones 20-inch alloy wheels. Yeah, it's bringing in some, so you can look at how much money you're spending to get that. And we can also have a report that shows the cost per lead that's coming in an update shortly. And then you can see a cost per lead. So if you're 20-inch wheels, if you're making, $1,000 and maybe your profit is $500, I'm just pulling figures out, you can afford to spend $50 or $100 to get that. So that's why it's important to have that data in the lead tracking. And this is going to allow you to bid on qualified leads. You may not be impressed. Okay. A problem I had in the past, and this is another client, we were targeting a term which involved medical devices. And we started targeting this term, and this is before we had the lead tracking software. We sent it out and we got 23 conversions. And normally a conversion, in this case, we were willing to spend $300 to $400 per conversion. So we got we got 23 conversions for $5,000. So it was right around the ballpark, and we were pretty excited. We're like, "Ooh, 23 conversions." But then we pulled up the leads. It was a lot of work to pull it out before the lead tracking. And what we found is out of those 23, 22 of those leads were people trying to sell to us. So it was medical sales companies saying, hey, we can represent your product and sell to you. So we spent $5,000 on that keyword phrase, and we made zero. So that's what I'm saying. If you don't qualify your leads as they come in, you could be bidding and wasting spend that, disappears. So that's why it's important. You want to spend on your best performing keywords. That's how you can increase your sales with Google Ads being strategic. But you can also cut out the ones that aren't performing well and are based on qualified leads. And that's going to allow you to reduce the waste, and increase where you're making the most money. So that's why I say this is a great strategy. And again, lead tracking software for marketers makes it really easy to do. And the last strategy I'm going to just refer to here is when and how to spend aggressively on keywords with the most value. So I think you can see that we talk about adding value is important to your leads. So with WhatConverts itself, it's a fully contained solution. So you can add value, and this answers the question that somebody had in the question thing: how can I properly set up quotable and quote value? We have three main methods that people use, and our customers and their clients use. Is they get an email notification each time they get a lead, and there's a question in every email: is this lead quotable? Yes or no. You just click it, and it marks it quotable. Done. The other one is if it's a phone call, you can set up a call flow process. So at the end of the call, you can press 1 and enter the quote value, or you can configure it to do what you want, but it's literally at the end of the call, it's like press 1 to enter a quote value, or press 1 to mark this as quotable. And that's it. So you can qualify it that way and teach your team to do that. So that's a super friction-free method to use. The other method is just in that lead manager I showed you, you can update values and quotable status right within that table, like that spreadsheet view, the lead manager view. Or if you look at each individual lead, which looks like the one below here, you can just mark it as quotable and put in a quote and a sales value in each individual lead. So the ones that do that's great, and it allows you to compete at a higher level. Now, at this point, many of our customers say our clients aren't going to do that. It's just not going to happen. So we've got two good pieces of good news. One, we're going to have an automated lead intelligence option coming soon. But the other thing is, the longer you do this with your customer, and the more competitive and therefore the more expensive that this gets, and they see the benefit, like if you give us this data, we can help you compete better. You can beat your competitors if you get this data. So that added motivation, I've just seen that over time, that initially, they're like, yeah, we're not going to do that. And then you report, and then they ask you questions, and then you should say, hey, if you just did this, and they're like, I can do that? And he's like, yes, well, I'm absolutely going to do it. So we have CEOs of companies saying, can I do that myself? And we're like, absolutely. So that works great. If you're still not convinced, we have another method of how to get this value into your marketing platform so you have this great marketing data. So if you have a CRM on the sales side, what happens is when a lead is generated, we can fire that automatically into the CRM. The CRM gets converted into an opportunity. At that conversion stage, we can set it up that it automatically sends back that lead is quotable. Like once they've made that lead into a contact with an opportunity, it automatically sends the data back to our marketing CRM. That's done. So without changing the business process of your client, if they have a CRM, this is doable. The next option is once they add an opportunity value, that quote value can be sent back into the lead. So you get the value there as well. And again, the salesperson doesn't have to do anything different. It's connected automatically. And the same thing is once the opportunity now goes through a phase where it becomes a sale or closed one, if you're using Salesforce or something, that will send back the value of that opportunity when it turned into a customer. And that can send into WhatConverts. So the great thing there is you have all this value data in WhatConverts with your marketing data, so you can market by value and show exactly what marketing is working right down to the value. Okay, so those are three ways. So the benefit of this is the reporting now has dollar values. So you can see your keywords. Now I'm showing a keyword example, but we can do this with landing page. We can do this with source and medium. Any data that we've captured, you will be able to see reporting on that data by, by total leads, by qualified leads, by quote value, or by sales value. And when you see this data, it makes marketing decisions so easy. So now, if you have a question like, I wonder if it's worth spending this much money on this keyword, you have the answer. It's very easy. The other benefit, and this works with sending qualified leads and quote value, is that you can automatically send this data because we integrate with Google Ads automatically. So any lead that we capture, we can send that automatically into Google as a conversion. And this makes, if you're using automated bidding, it makes the automating bidding a lot more accurate. But what you can do is it gets more accurate. If you send them only qualified leads, that's telling Google, I want you to get me more leads that are like this. And they have, because they have so much data of people and what they do and all the actions that they take, they're able to target more correctly. Now with automated bidding, it doesn't work with it for everybody, and you need a certain volume to make it really work. But I've heard good stories, I've heard bad stories about automated bidding. But with this information, you can do it automated or you can do it through manual methods. So, in the past, I loved starting doing manual, and then I'd automate slowly, see the results, and then, depending if there's enough leads and enough data being fed into Google, the automated bidding can make a lot of sense. Okay, so by strategic bidding, based on value, you can bid higher. So back to my example with the client, what ends up happening is we haven't necessarily increased the leads through Google Ads, but what we've done is the leads we get are higher value. So revenue has really increased dramatically. Okay, so does this work as a where'd it go? Why did I miss that one? Oops, I'm just going back here. For some reason, that one's gone, but you've seen that before. So does it work? Here's the WhatConverts. These are our actual leads. And you can see over time, we've, as I mentioned, we came against a really strong headwind because our competitors got a lot of funding and they just jacked up the price, the cost per click to $120. So we hit the headwind, but we've been more strategic. We've been able to compete very nicely and put more into Google Organic as well, using the data from Google CPC. And we haven't gone head to head against them because the funding they got was, you're talking 100 million. So but even though with that, we've gone from a few hundred leads in 2015 to we probably reached 6,000 leads by the end of the year. So does it work? Absolutely. I use this platform for our own marketing as well. Okay, I feel I've talked a lot. Thank you for your time. And do we have any more questions?
Awesome. It does look like we do. So thank you. That was awesome information. I know you touched on the quotable one. So Chantel asked, how do the keywords work when people type in a question and they want to read the paragraph that Google pulls and puts at the top of the page?
So normally with that, when they put it at the top of the page, if they're just going to get the answer at the top of the page and they don't take any action, you can't track a lead. But if you have that answer and it gives them what they want, they do click on it and it'll take them to the source article, and then from there they typically convert into a lead.
Okay.
I hope that answers it.
Yeah. And then another one here, if I integrate WhatConverts to my CRM, isn't the quote value to be filled out automatically?
Yep. She probably asked that before I covered that
Okay.
in the CRM option. So yeah, if we work with many CRMs, I see there's another one, and we use Zoho CRM, how to ensure lead value is tracked as well. Zoho is great. We have one of our earlier examples back in 2015, a software development company used Zoho, and they ran their own PPC campaign on it, and it worked beautifully. So when a lead was qualified, it would fire back information from Zoho into WhatConverts. And then the same thing, as they added an opportunity, it fired back the quote value. And then once it became a sale, they put back the sale value. And then they could look back and say, okay, which keywords generated the sales and the most value? So yeah, absolutely. Zoho works great.
Okay, perfect. It looks like that is all of the questions. If anyone does have any questions, is there a good email that they can send it to afterwards?
Yeah, my email is on the slide there, michael.cooney@whatconverts.com.
Perfect.
So they're welcome to send it on over, and I'll give them an answer.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining today's webinar, and thank you so much, Michael, for this awesome information. As a reminder, we will be sending out the replay video and the PDF of the slides, so look out for that. And as Michael mentioned, his email is attached to the slides that will go out to you. So hopefully we will see you all soon for our next webinar. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Cheers,
Michael.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.